PhotoScape X 2021 is, in my opinion, the best free photo editing software that you can learn for PC and Mac. This software, where if you were to go to their website, which is x.photoscape.org, you're able to download it for PC and for Mac, and you're able to also purchase the Pro model as well, which gives you a few extra bells and whistles. In this video, we're just going to be looking at what you get with the free model. I have my own video showing the Pro model as well, but I want to give you guys an overview of what this software does, giving you that deep dive into how to use this piece of software. So to begin with, when you open up PhotoScape X, you are greeted with this awesome homepage where you're able to go and look at different tools and different effects and different tutorials that they've made that gives you an overview of what these different tools do. So let's say something like we have the spot healing brush. So over here you can click on the spot healing brush and you have that tutorial right here. And it shows, oh, how do I take away text? How do I take something off of a building? How do I take people off of like a beach? So you're able to click on that if you're wondering how it works and things. And there is a YouTube video where you're able to go and watch somebody how they use that one specific tool in the software. Unfortunately, there's not any kind of commentary. You're just kind of watching to see, okay, they click here, they select this tool, they move this slider. But it can be very helpful if you can't find a video on YouTube or something to explain the tool. There are videos for every tool in PhotoScape X, just maybe not as detailed as you might want. One thing that's also nice is that on this website, you're able to go to the history and see any of the recent updates to the software. We had an update back in November and it was very helpful. I made an entire video on that where we looked at things like the long shadow, the overlay mask and the background, a lot of things for the text effects. And that's something that's super helpful for me if I'm making a YouTube thumbnail or things like that. So without further ado, that's their homepage there. You can always go to that by clicking on the logo at the top left-hand side. Next, we go over to the viewer. And the viewer is awesome because you're able to go and look through a bunch of different photos. This is just a file, a folder that has tons of images of different thumbnails that I've made in the past, and it's nice to keep them all in one place. But what's awesome about the viewer is not only do you have it where you're able to see all this in the software, you're able to go over here to favorites, and I favorited my PSX, which is kind of the abbreviation for PhotoScape X. I have PhotoScape X temps, which are my templates. I can go to my edited images and my done images. I can go to pictures, I can go to downloads, I can go to my desktop, and that's awesome to be able to filter through those different favorite folders. But you can also go to folders just in general and find whatever you're looking for inside of PhotoScape X. And there's even one for both if you wanted to have your favorites and all your folders as well. So that's really nice. Going back to that template folder, you're able to go in here and select any of the images you want, and you're able to bring them right into a viewer. We're able to view the image and everything like that. And what's nice is down at the bottom right hand side, you have this info button, and you can click on that and you're able to see the info about that image. You can see the size of the file, the resolution. If it was an image that was taken on a camera, you'd be able to see what kind of camera it was being shot on and what the settings were for that camera. In this case, it's a compiled image, so it would be a conglomeration of all these different images in here. So not the best example, but if I were to go down to let's see, something like this, I could click on this and I could look at it and say, oh, this was shot on a Canon EOS R or an EOS M50, shot at 22 millimeters at an f-stop of 3.2, and it looks really nice. So very good there. You're also able to see it in a full screen mode. Down here we can say, let's see, like fill, things like that. We can hit we can go back. Sorry, my mouse was kind of being silly there. But you can go and you can have it show in like a slideshow or show in full screen. And that's really nice because that's where you can kind of filter between a bunch of different images. And then you're still able to see all that information on the corner if you'd like to do that, and edit the metadata as well. So that's really nice to be able to have all that functionality in there. And from there, you could even jump straight into the editor down there at the bottom right as well to edit that image. So with that being said, the viewer is also very helpful because you're able to organize and sort your images. This is super helpful because you can go down here and say, oh, I want photos. Oh, actually, there's landscapes or portraits. Oh, there's 2 portraits in here. Let me just click over here. And those are the 2 portrait images that are in here. This was kind of a fun project I did where I had an oximeter. I work as a caregiver at a place where I help individuals who have mental or physical limitations, and I care for them. What I did was I took an image of the oximeter on my finger, and I was able to change it from, instead of saying, oh, 90% or 95% for the oximeter, I was able to put in love. And I thought that was really cool to show my wife and like, hey, here's a little project I have there. This is what my O2 was reading. So that was kind of cool. But you're able to go through here and find those different images, whether it's the file type, how the image is a landscape or a portrait or even a square image. I'm also able to go down here to a rating setup where I can search based on 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. And I can rate any image. So if I say, wow, this image here where I put this crown next to the Photoshop logo, I actually did a pretty good job on this. I haven't used it for a video yet, but I should. I can go over here and I can say, oh yes, I want to give it 5 stars on here. So then it's searchable later. Next, we have over here, custom. This is where you get a custom search. So I could say, oh yes, I only want project images, or I only want raw images. And I say, yeah, I only want the project ones. So then I can look through and say, oh yes, I know all these are project images, where if you don't know what project images are, it's such a helpful thing. Because let's say you worked on a big project where you moved around a lot of different elements. Let's say it was something like this one. You could say, wow, you put that all together, but maybe down the road, you're like, wait, I should have put a different image here, or I should have moved this a little bit. The thing is, you actually can. You can go over here to edit, and because you saved it as a project file, you're still able to move these different images around and adjust them or change the text and all of that stuff. You can do all those different things and make those different edits and changes and then resave it and all that. But that's really nice for people to save things as a project file. It makes it so much simpler down the road when you want to edit or make little changes or use a similar template for another project down the road. So we're going to then hop over here to the editor. This is where so much happens. And what's awesome is you can just drag and drop an image straight into the editor, or you can go and hit open, find it yourself, put it in, or you can go over here to new and you can put in just a preset, whether it's for like the YouTube thumbnail size or for an Instagram profile or a Facebook profile or their cover, any of those different things. You can go and select that. So we're just going to do, let's say a YouTube thumbnail. You can hit OK, and then it opens it up just as a blank transparent image, or you could open it up with a solid white background if you wanted to do something like that. So then you can see what you're doing when you're adding in different elements into the image. So with that, we're going to just drop an image in and we're going to start working on it. All right, going over here, I'm going to just navigate up here to desktop. I'm going to go over here to folders. I'm gonna drop this image in here. This is an image that was sent to me and they said, hey, I want some work done to it, things like that, to add some reflections on here. But I think this will also be helpful to be able to see a lot of different things with how this editor works. So over here, we have a quick menu setting where I've made an entire video on how to use the quick menu settings there, and it can be really helpful. Basically, if I wanted to crop it, yes, you have those cropping tools to get exactly what you want for your crop there. Say you said, oh, that's a little too wide, I want it cropped in. You can crop that in just by dragging and then hitting enter. There's also things like magic color. If you wanted to try to just do a quick change and say, oh yes, I want a quick auto tune for my color. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it takes some more messing around with in the color tab, but that can be really helpful as well. You can go down here to the bottom where you have the compare or the original button. You can hit that and see what you had originally and then what you have now. If you are to zoom in real close in here, you can see that the original, it had a bit more of lighter tones, where this, when I let go of it, it has a bit warmer tones, and that's what that magic color is doing there. Very helpful there. And then if you want to feel a little bit overwhelmed, just look at all of these tools they have in here. You have the transform tools, everything from the reflections, and we'll come back to that in a second. But then you also have the effects tools where you have things like zoom, blur, wave, spotlight. It's just a lot. And then the adjustment tools where you have some auto levels, some white balance, some vintage. You have some black and white, granite opacity. Like, there's a lot of different tools in there. And most of them are available in that free version, completely available for you to use as much as you want. Next you have, let's go down here to this reflection. So I click on reflections, and what it's going to do is it's going to try to do a reflection down here. Let's do a transparent reflection. You can say, okay, what kind of size do you want? Where's the level? What's the perspective? Let's keep that perspective back to where it normally is. Let's see. Change that level there. Change the size. Yeah, it might be a little challenging to kind of see where do you want the reflections to line up and stuff. But I can show you later on how to make those reflections kind of closer together, how to make that. So there's a lot of things in here to do. I've made several videos teaching some of these different adjustments, some different effects, but it definitely does take a long time to learn the ins and outs of all of them. But you can learn what you know and continue to build on that tool belt that you might want to just continue to add to over time. Next, you have what's called the color slider or the color tab, and you can like turn up the brightness here. You can darken the image. You can deepen the image. You can turn up that vibrance there, the clarity. You can select it to be an HDR image. To apply magic color, you can shift the hues and the changes. There's a lot of things you can do in here to move it around, mess with it. You can even mask so the effect only takes place on certain parts of the image and not on the whole thing. So there's definitely a lot you can do in here. I'm going to switch off to another image real quick just because I think it might be easier. Here's a image that my brother shot a little while ago for a photo challenge my brother and I had. But yeah, you can turn up that brightness or darkness and deepen that image, make it look really saturated. You know, you could do a lot of things with that color just to make those shifts. And like I said, with that mask, you could make it, oh, I just want that bird and maybe the foreground to have that kind of adjustment, like that color change. So you can do that. Very nicely done. Next, you can go over here to the film, and that's where you get those kind of Instagram filters. You can go and select which one you might think is better or what you'd like. And what's nice is if you find one that you enjoy, you can select it. Then you can intensify it, or you can make it just a small amount of change. You can change that amount there. So that's nice, and there is a comparison button so you can see the difference on that comparison. There's different things like two-tone, there are different looks, different overlays to give it that kind of a old or vintage type of look. I think it's really cool to be able to make those changes. And yeah, there's just some that are really neat. And yeah, once again, you can change the amount. So if you just wanted a little bit, you can do that. Or if you want to go full blown, you can do that as well. You can also change how it's blended in. Like you could make it an overlay or like a hard light. You could make it a color burn. Wow, that's a little extreme. But yeah, there's just so much you can do and mess with that I think it just makes it so much more open for people to create freely and confidently. You also have like old photos. You got that. You have dirt, like if there was dirt on the image itself, different textures if you wanted to make it look like it's a woven pattern or something. And then even just some extras, which are kind of just crazy. But for people who are doing some artistic things or really wanting to show off what they can do, there's almost an endless supply of what you can mess around with in PhotoScape X. You also have light, where you can add different light flares to your image. I think this is really helpful for a lot of people who look at an image, you're like, wait, I want to make it, pop in some certain way. And it's kind of cool to see those different light flares that you're able to put in there, different light leaks and things like that. And it's like this. So you got this like huge blue and purple beam coming in on one side. You're able to actually still move and adjust that beam to be coming in from a certain angle. And I think it's just really cool to see what you're able to do. And some of it's a little extreme, but I think it's pretty neat. Also changing that tint. Wow, that's nice to be able to have that much control over the image. All right, so we have that taken care of. Next, we're going to go over here to frame. That's where you can put different borders on here, but you also have shapes and different borders like this. So you can have this and export it as like a transparent image and add it into a project. So like if I were to go back to some of my images in here, there's so many times where I will do that. Like I'll make a border and I'll save it out as a transparent image so I can combine them later. Saving it out with a frame like that could be super helpful, changing the thickness to whatever you like. I like it at 10% there, just kind of a thought. You can also add like a background if you wanted a background, but it's neat to be able to see all the different things you can move and change. All right, so then after that you have insert. This is where you can insert another image into your project. So let's say, unfortunately I'm not seeing thumbnails here, but like I can go and say, hey, here's another image that I want to paste into the image that I already have. So you can totally do that. And unfortunately, when you do insert it in, you have limited abilities. Like you're not able to really give it, like there's some shapes and stuff you can do to the image. And you can give it a drop shadow and stuff, but you can't really make that same border that you would have made in like the normal editor. But you're still able to do some different changes and effects to it, but usually combine the images together. It's a lot of fun when you're making like thumbnails and things like that. So the insert, that can be super helpful to insert those images. You have stickers where you can pick a sticker or something and add that in. Just putting it in can make it nice and fun. Some people get real crazy about their stickers. Text is something which I absolutely love in PhotoScape X, because not only do you have the text, you can put in different gradients or styles and things like that. And I just think it's really neat to see, because you can put in like this orange and maybe this here. You can change how it looks on that. I can reverse it. Let's see. Move some of the stuff around, change the tints. Like there's a ton that you can do to get just that exact text that you want, including with their new additions like their overlay mask. You can make some different textures and stuff pop out to just give it more flair. Even long shadow, which is super kind of crazy to add such a long, cartoony type of text effect on there. But it's nice to be able to see that they have been continuing to add things to this text, as well as the ability to pick almost whatever font you want and install your own fonts and things. It's really nice. After that, we get past the text. You have different shapes and things that you can let's see, do I have to drag them in, or how does it work? Oh, here we go. You can add in different text and stuff, and by using like patterns and stuff, you can really make this a really useful addition to what you're doing. And I just think the amount of flexibility they give you with stuff like patterns is crazy, because you can rotate it. You can change the scale of like how big or small these dots are, the X and Y, if you were being really technical about it. I think that's really cool too. Just so much there. Next you have the magnify, and this is actually a perfect example of the magnify tool, because you could go and you could zoom in on like the bird, and I could like increase the scale of the zoom as well, so you can see just that bird right there and get a zoom in there. And there's some different like designs you can make it look like. But I think it's just super cool to be able to get that kind of a magnification on something. If it was like, whoa, look at this pass or something, you could have a zoom in shot of you getting the pass or something. Very helpful as well to have just tools like that. Also filters, if you wanted to maybe blur a certain part of your image, you can do that. Or you can do like a frost or anything like that. It's nice if you were going to like try to hide or cover up a certain part of an image that you didn't want anyone to see, or you wanted to kind of keep it a surprise for a little bit. You could definitely do that. Hopping over here to tools, there's just more in here, like the spot heal tool, the clone stamp tool, the draw tool, different things like that. Some of them will be pro and you won't be able to have access to them, but most of them are free. It's like the spot healing tool. I know that one is completely free. Let me go and find an image real quick that could be helpful for like the spot healing tool. Here's one that would work really well for that. So if we were to zoom in here, and let me just remove, can I just like revert back? All right, this is what it looked like originally with my oxygen saturation level at 97%, which is always good. What you can do is in that spot heal tool, you can zoom in and you can remove certain parts of the image. So like you can go over this 72 and it might act a little bit weird, but we'll see how it goes. There you go. But basically, you can use it to help remove different parts of an image and erase it, so you can have some open flexibility to keep stuff for later. And sometimes it works better on certain things and sometimes it doesn't work better on others, but it's a simple left click and you're able to go and remove different parts of the image. I think that can be really helpful. Let's take a look at like an image like this. If I were to try to remove something, like let's say I didn't want the different designs on my shirt where it has those different designs. If I didn't want them, I can go and click here, removed, clicked here, removed, click here, removed. And there might be little artifacts left over, but it's a really cool tool, and I've made different videos on the clone stamp or the spot healing tool. It's really fun. All right, so we have that stuff looked at. Of course, there's draw on, paint bucket, and adjust color. There's a ton in there, but that's just an overview of what the editor can do. All right, so next, let's hop over to the cutout tool. Cutout tool is really cool because what you can do with that is you can drop an image in and remove the background. So you can see my face in here, and you're like, okay, how do I remove the background? Well, the fastest way that I've learned how is, even though you have those three tools here, it's to start out with the lasso tool, go here, cut out around your subject that you're wanting to save. Go over here, so it is cut out. Then go down here to invert mask, and invert mask is going to help it. So instead of cutting yourself out, it's going to save you, save that selection that you have in there. This works with any object, any project that you're working with. Go back here to like the magic eraser, click around here. If it accidentally takes too much, you can move that tolerance slider down and add, and you can save more of that image. And you can just continue to click around in here, removing those different parts that you don't want. Really useful, really helpful. All right. And then if you ever get to a place where you're like, whoa, I'm kind of stuck, I can't really, remove too much more here, that's the moment where you can go out and you can pull out like the brush effect. And the brush allows you to cut out just certain parts of the image. So I can zoom in nice and close here, and I can say, okay, I want to make this nice and big. I want to start cutting out the rest of that image there. It's not as fast as like Photoshop or something, but at least it's something where it's completely free. It's something where you're not paying, hundreds of dollars a year to have the software. I think it's really nice to be able to have access to tools like this completely for free. So if you were someone who was doing professional work, you could do that and save some money. Or if you were someone who just wanted to make some memes on the internet, you can do that as well. You don't have to have some big, huge, grandiose scheme of how do I pay for such an amazing piece of software. It's like, no, actually, it's free. And if you want to pay the extra $40 for the few little upgrades and things, you can do that as well. Personally, I wouldn't have the Pro model unless if I was teaching it. I wanted to get this so I could teach you guys the Pro model as well, show you guys the differences and the comparisons, just because I didn't see anyone else really making the videos on it. Since I've gotten the Pro model, I think there's some times where I'm really thankful for it, and others where I'm like, well, you know, you don't have to get it. And that's what I think it's kind of my consensus on it. You don't have to get it, but it can be fun, and it can be something that can help out the creators by supporting their work there. All right. Very nice. So we get that all taken care of. Okay, so we remove that. If you take more time, you can do an even better job. That's what I would encourage you guys to do. There's two ways to do this. You can kind of save it and copy it out to clipboard. You can just paste it right into your editor, which is pretty insane. Let me hop over to another image so you can really see the difference here. All right, we'll just like hop over to this one. I can go over here and I can hit paste, and I can paste that image, you know, into another image and have that flexibility there. So that's really cool. Or you can go and hit save as a PNG image. That's the file type, and you can go and save that out as well. What's cool is that if you are working on a project and you're doing something like this, and you go and you paste that in, you know, scale at 100 so it's the same size, you match it up so it's right where it's supposed to be. There you go, right there. Then you can put things behind it. So let's say you had some text or something. Wow, it's kind of a weird text effect. Wow, the backgrounds and everything on here, the glow effect is kind of random. Oh, and I also had changed all that stuff up. Okay. All right, well, let's just say we get some text effect in here that you really like. Okay, then what's nice is that you could actually put this back behind, because you have two sections here, because you had the cutout. You can send it backwards and put it behind what you have. So it's like Nathan Collins. Maybe I'll just cut Nathan and Collins out separately so it'll be easier. All right, and you can shrink what you're doing by just grabbing it and pulling it. I can shrink that one as well. And go and put it behind. And, you know, it's those type of little effects and things that you're able to learn and do, and where people look at it and say, whoa, hold on, you actually did some editing there. You did something there, because you're moving around those different objects. So it's nice that you have that flexibility with the cutout tool. All right. Now, the other tools after this are ones that I don't use very much, but I've taken the time to kind of figure out how they run just for you guys. So we have the batch. Basically, if you had several images that you wanted to edit the exact same way, you can say go into crop, and I want to crop them all 10 on the left hand side and 10 on the right hand side. And oh, I want the color, I want them all to have a color change of like attempting to add HDR to all of them. You know, you can do that, but basically it's if you had like 10 images you wanted edited the exact same way, you can go and do that, and they will be all edited the exact same way. So you have that in batch, and you can of course hit save when you're done, and you'll save them all out, and it'll be a batch save. Next, you have collage. This is basically where you can drop an image in, and then you can go down here and drop another image in, and you can move and adjust them. You can change them. You can change the style or the look and feel of them. And it's kind of neat. If you had a project where you're like, whoa, I want something where there's gears, like you could do that, you know. You also have that, which is kind of random too. Interesting. So there's different things you can do in here to make those effects or those changes and stuff. but nonetheless, it just depends on what you want. I like it that it has the ability to go from like 2 to 5 to 7. You know, how many pictures do you want to drop into these images? And yeah, it's just something where you can just continue to move and shift things around. And it works out pretty well, in my opinion, if you like making collages. Next, you have the combine. That's basically where if you had 2 images that you wanted to put side by side and make it just one image to save out as one image, you can do that. Or you can put multiple ones and things like that. You can say, oh, save original size or base it off the first image, things like that. Then you can save it out. And I'll just do this real quick for you guys. So you hit save, and then here you can go and you can open up the image itself, and boom, you have one big image and they're just 2 smushed together. This can be helpful if you're trying to edit 2 images and pull things from one side to another and things like that. But usually something that I don't use a ton. Sometimes for group photos though, it can be helpful to get the people blinking or not looking at the camera, stuff like that. Next you have create GIF. This is something where, let's say you were to drop a few images in. All right. Then you can kind of see how it would look, where you can see, oh wait, I'm moving a little bit. I'm doing this different stuff, and you can change the duration, the speed and stuff. And it's nice because you're able to save this out to something where I believe you could put it on like Facebook or maybe even in a video or something. You can make these little animations and stuff that you could use. So I think it's nice because you can even go in and select the duration for each individual image. That's really cool. Even changing the transition. So you can have a slide up here or a slide down or slide to the right. That's kind of cool to see those different kind of little animation clips that you could do. But if you were like going to make something and then be able to use it for like a messenger kind of GIF that you would send out to people, that might be kind of cool. Next you have print. This is pretty straightforward. If you hate printers, you're going to hate this. If you love printers, you're going to love this. But basically you drop the image in. You're able to say, oh yes, do I want these to be wallet sizes? Oh, do I want it to be 5x7? You know, different things like that. You can figure it out there and figure out your margins and stuff like that. So they do it in millimeters, if I believe. And I'm trying to figure out if you're able to change it off of millimeters. But it's something where they do have the inch equivalents down here in the presets as well. So hopefully it's pretty simple for you guys. If there's anything you want me to cover in this entire video to a better extent, just leave a comment down below and I'll get to that. Next, you can hop over here to tools. You can use color picker, which is cool because you can select any part of the entire screen and you can get that color. Or you can go over here to rename. This helps you so when you're saving out images, you can rename them to exactly what you're wanting, or to have kind of a template of how they're saved out. And then you also have screen capture if you want to capture the full screen, so you can then send it maybe to someone like me. If you're like, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, you could send it over to me. I have my email linked on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you have any questions or comments there. And then over here at the top right, you have the different, like the theme. You go to the light theme. Hold on. Wow. So you have like the lights theme of PhotoScape X, or you can go back to the dark theme, which is what I usually run. And then there's different things in here like the matte color default, or purging thumbnails, or resetting the entire software just in case if you have any issues. But that's really neat. But that's also where you can figure out what version of PhotoScape X you're using here. But nonetheless, you guys, that's PhotoScape X in a nutshell, just trying to give you a nice overview of what the software offers. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and feel free to give it a like and consider subscribing if you'd like more videos on different tutorial software, PhotoScape X, but also others as well. So you guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.